Welcome to the Essential Skills for Humaning podcast, where we explore the fundamental abilities and insights that make us better humans. Here's your host, Christina Eanes.
Hi everyone, Christina Eanes here, your host for Essential Skills for Humaning. Excited to have Kavita Ahuja today. Welcome, Kavita.
Welcome. Well, thank you so much, Christina. It's wonderful to be here. I'm really thrilled to have this conversation with you today. And I actually love the premise of your podcast because, thriving as human beings and being the best version of yourself is my jam. So I'm excited to be on it. Yes.
Yeah, humaning can be a bit hard sometimes.
Yes, that's
yeah. And what's funny is it was like we don't quite learn how to human in school. I mean, some schools help with that, but we don't quite learn how to do that unless we seek it out ourselves. So
absolutely,
that's
yeah.
why
They don't give us a manual, right?
That's it. So before we dive into the topic, the reinvention pyramid, can you share a little bit about yourself with our audience?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for asking. Christina, I am a career and life transitions coach. I'm also a podcaster, and I'm a course creator and a writer and a speaker. And I'm also a proud mom of two awesome young men and a wife of 30 years. And among many other roles that many of us play, but I wasn't always all those things. And that is really what I wanted to kind of stress to the people that are listening is that you may be and have just done so many things in your lives, but followed the prescribed mold of what you expect or what society expects, but you can do a lot more. So I'll back up a little bit. My background might be a little different from many of your guests in that I'm a South Asian woman and I was raised in Canada and born in Kenya, and my family immigrated in the 60s. And I think the reason I mention that is because I really saw the struggle that my parents went through, and as we came to this country and building a new life, and that really instilled a lot of this traditional hard work and determination. And I was raised traditionally, have a good education, get a good job, get married, have kids, and I did that. Perfectly. Like it actually really conformed to those. I did really well in my career. In my previous career, I was in the pharmaceutical industry for 25 years in sales and marketing. And I did extremely well in that position, in that role. And, I was a top performer. Then something happened, Christina, in that I around the time I think I turned 50, is that I began to hear this little inner voice inside of me that was asking me, is this really it? What do I really, is this what I'm doing right now? Everything seemed perfect from the outside. And if anybody looking in would say, are you crazy? Everything seems great. But that internal voice was asking me, what is it that I really wanted? Is this what I wanted to do for the rest of my life? Was I fulfilled? And is there more that I needed to rediscover about myself? And so, I tried to ignore it because, I thought I was crazy or whatever, but it got louder and louder. And I guess that's another message is that, if you have those inner feelings, inner voice that tells you these things, it's really important to listen to that voice. And, we have the opportunity to design our life the way we really want if we listen to those voices. And so I decided to listen to it, and I left my career of 25 years, and I went on a journey of rediscovery, really wanting to understand who I was. And I studied a lot. I studied different concepts, of transitions, of personal growth, playing big, ikigai is one of the things, energy, all of that, law of attraction, all of those things. And I realized I wasn't the only one going through this. So I wanted to help other people who are going through different transitions in their life and to help them figure out, what it is that they were really meant to do and be. And so I also became a coach. I started a podcast, and I'm now really my passion is really transforming lives and helping people really just rediscover who they are. So kind of a long-winded way of saying that it wasn't I didn't expect to be here.
Yeah.
But when you listen to that inside voice and when you follow the breadcrumbs, it's amazing what you can do. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I've had that voice pop up loud a few times in my life. Again, I think college,
Yes.
15 years into my first career. So fascinating. So, and this is where you came up with the reinvention pyramid. So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. Well, I will say that one of the main things that I will say is that when we are going through transitions, whether, any time in our life, it's really important to, if you're confused, and often what happens is clients come to me and they're stuck, right? They don't know what to do next. They may be been in a career that they're not loving. They may be in a relationship that they're not loving. They may be, just kind of kind of going through the emotions of life. And, don't really know why. So I created my process is called the Pyramid of Reinvention, and it really begins with rediscovering who you are. And by that I mean, I think it's one of the most important things or skills one should learn is what is it that really is your reason for being? And this concept, that's part of my process. I first do it's a discovery phase where we find our reason for being. So I don't know if you've heard of this concept called Ikigai or have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but please explain it though. Yeah.
Yes. So this concept really clicked with me early on, and it's included in the program. And in short, it means your reason for being, and it is a Japanese term, a Japanese concept, and it's comprised of two words: ikuru, which means to live, and kai, which means the realization of what one hopes for. And it actually originated from a place in Japan called Okinawa. And that's one of the blue zones in the world. I'm not sure if you know what the blue zones is.
Yes.
Blue zone is, but it's where the largest numbers of 100-year-olds live. So there was actually a documentary that was just done on that, the blue zones in the world. And so,
Netflix,
one of the things
right?
is, yeah. And, why do these people in these different areas in the world, why do they live till 100, right? And one of the concepts was Ikigai. And really what it is a convergence of four elements. Firstly, passion, which is what you love. Second is mission, what the world needs. Third is vocation, or what you're good at. And fourth is profession, so what you can get paid for. So it's really a combination of all those things. And it's not just about purpose, because purpose can be a little bit daunting for people, but it's about what the world needs and what you are able to provide. And so I take my clients through this process. What we do first is we first look at your strengths. Like, where are you right now? What are you really good at? What comes naturally to you? Everybody is unique. So really, acknowledging and celebrating your skills, your strengths. And oftentimes clients will say, well, I'm okay with this, but they don't really dig deep into like, what makes you tick? What makes you fantastic? So that's the first thing. What are your superpowers, in other words? The second part of that is looking at your passions. So what really would just drive you to wake up in the morning and just be so excited to start the day? What did you do when you were a child, for example, that the time just went by so quickly that you didn't know where it went? So digging deep into those passions, because if you don't have passion in your life and you don't do the things that really give you that positive energy, then life is going to be kind of blah, right?
Yeah. Meaning is a big part of happiness, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the third part of it is looking at your values, and our values change in different stages of our life. When we're younger, they're different. When they're a little bit, when you get older, they're different. It is like, what do you value in it? Are you actually living your values, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do then, Christina, is that we take all these aspects and we look at the Ikigai. It's a Venn diagram, right? And we put these words about the different aspects of the strengths, passions, values, what the world needs, all of that, and then you see overlaps, and it's really fascinating when you can actually see the overlaps and what you're meant to be and do. And it's when you look at it from that perspective, it opens up so much opportunity. And that's the other thing I would say is we often get stuck in the, like, I talked about the roles, but we often get stuck in these things that we do. We don't let our minds expand to what is possible. And that's often usually because of fear, right? Of getting out of our comfort zone. So that's the first part of the pyramid. So really it's rediscovering yourself. And then it's around visioning who you are in the future. It's your inner mentor. Who are you 20 years from now, 30 years from now, depending on your age? And how can you get to that person, right? And then the next part is uncovering the obstacles in your way. So we all have obstacles, inner critics. We have all kinds of things that stop us. So what are they? How can we dig into those and lessen them in your life? And then it's about getting the confidence to actually go for it. And so it's a step-by-step process. And of course, the main thing is that we can talk a lot about it, but it's about how you take action. And I always say, even if it's daily, what's one step? It doesn't have to be a huge mountain in front of you. It's as long as you take the first step towards the summit, then things will get started. So that's essentially what I take, the pyramid of reinvention, meaning that starting from the inside out and then taking the action. And accountability is always needed. And that's what I'm here for. That's what you're here for, is to help people move along and be accountable for their actions as well. So,
I love
hopefully that wasn't a lot or too much.
No, that was awesome. That was awesome. Well, and two, one of the things, I mean, there's so much depth there, which I love. There's so many places I want to go. But one of the things that really popped up for me was addressing that. I know people put a lot of pressure on themselves, myself previously included, that this is like a destination rather than a journey, right? Like I started out in one field. I was using all my strengths. I was really loving it. And then after a while, I wasn't. And so I was able to find another field that I could do that purpose in and use those strengths, but just in a completely different way. So hopefully, people will focus on, it's not like a destination. This is a journey. I can express myself in so many different ways. And it doesn't necessarily have to be during for what I get paid for. I can have that. Well, I'll find ways to be happy at it, but I can live my purpose in other areas of my life too.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that, it doesn't mean that you have to just give up everything and forget who you are. It's not about just stopping everything. It's about thinking about every moment in life, everything that you do there's a reason behind it. And so everything that you do, you accumulate the skills, you accumulate all the experiences that you have lead up to this point. And it's about picking those things that we really bring us joy, really, and bring us that positive energy in our life. Like, what about those things did we love? I mean, everybody has a job. You don't love every aspect of your job, but what about what aspects do you love that you want to bring out into if you want to do something else? What can you bring out? So it's not about just letting go of everything.
Absolutely.
That's part of reinvention. Yes.
Yeah. What other shall we call them rules and I'm doing the bunny ears for those that, that can't see us. But what are some other rules that people, I want to say, make up about finding and living their purpose, their happiness, their joy, all of that stuff? What have you seen?
Are you saying rules or excuses for not
Yeah,
living?
well, like rules, like
Yeah.
once I find my purpose in that dream job, I will be
Oh,
happy, and
yeah.
it's, it's going to be that way
Yes.
forever.
Yes.
What are some other
Those
rules that you've
those
noted?
those are misconceptions, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Because we as humans, it's normal. Oh, I'll get
Hmm.
that job and then I'll be happy. I'll
Yes.
take that vacation and I'm going to be so happy after that, and then we go back to the grind of life.
Hmm.
Those are misconceptions. And I would say that that's a really great question because it's so important that you think about, let's say you think about, okay, I want this, I think this job is going to make me really happy, right? So think about what is
Hmm.
that, how does that feel like, right? What does that mean? Can you bring that feeling into today? It's not
Yeah.
about future because it's just a moving target, right, Christina?
Yes.
Then you achieve that and it's like, oh, well, then the next thing, right?
Hmm.
So I would say that's a bit of a fallacy, and the way to get around that is to make every day, like do something every day that brings you happiness and joy, and
Yeah.
give a little time to yourself every day, every single day, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing is that I think maybe a fallacy is that, oh, it's just going to be so hard. It's just going to be
Mm.
so hard, to, if I want to do something different, you know, A, like I'm really afraid, or B, what will people think? And C, it's just going to be so hard, right?
Yeah.
So, those are all blocks that we have. And if we look at it, as I said earlier, if we look at the big mountain ahead of us, then it's going to seem fairly daunting. But if we first figure out, like, this is what makes me tick, this is my reason for being, and then take one step at a time.
Yeah.
And if we're not doing that, then we're in our box, in our
Yeah.
zone of comfort, and we're not growing. And the whole
Yeah.
point of I believe, this podcast is, how do people grow and become their best
Yes.
versions of themselves, right? The only way
Yeah.
to do that, honestly, is to push those boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think that was just a few of the
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that came to mind.
absolutely.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah, so many,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. And
Hmm.
then it's sort of the one that I had mentioned earlier on the misconception of there's only one way I can express my purpose and I have to get paid for it. I've run
Absolutely,
into
yeah.
that. Yeah, quite a
Yes.
bit. Like, and
Yeah.
it's typical because we like to do, like, we kind of mentioned before we started today, escape rooms with my husband. It meets
Yeah.
all of my purpose and my values that I express in other areas. But people are like, "Oh, so are you going to open up an escape room location?" We're like, "Absolutely not,"
Yes.
because
It's
once we start
interesting.
doing that on a regular
Yeah.
basis, it doesn't become as special. It's
Yeah.
just
So what
anyway.
about that, if I may ask, what about that
Hmm.
experience? What do you love? Like, what it makes you, why do you do it?
Ah, yes. Well, it's the same reason I love my day job and my quote unquote day job
Yeah.
and just life. Challenges,
Yes.
puzzles, connecting with others,
Yeah. Yeah.
novelty. Yeah,
Yeah.
so much
That's
of that
so,
stuff.
yeah, that's so important. I'm so glad you mentioned that because challenges, people think, oh, well, like, it just has to be at work, right? And I
Yeah.
often encourage my clients, like, to one exercise I do, which might be useful, is to look at your week and look at what you do and categorize these activities as red activities, which you really, really drain your energy,
Mm-hmm.
and green activities, which give
Mm.
you joy and give you energy. And it's called anabolic, or positive energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then try to look at those activities and say, how can you increase the green, or the positive activities in your life, and minimize the red ones, right?
Yeah.
Because the more you do that, and it could be in any way, it could be in your
Yeah.
work, it could be volunteering, it could be in your social life, in your family life. How can you bring those things that bring you joy and happiness and energy more into your life? And so, yes, absolutely, 100% believe that we're not just worker bees. We have a life.
Yeah.
We have our work. We have our life, which is why I'm like a career and life transition
Absolutely.
coach, right? It's all connected.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
Yeah.
I love the red and the green. I
Yeah.
love too that you say minimize the red, because one, we can't eliminate it.
No, of course not.
And two, I think it gives us so much more appreciation for the green when we have some of the red too.
Yes. And
Yeah.
people, I think people go through life often just like I have to do this because I've always done it, and
Uh-huh.
no,
Like,
like
why?
why do you do it? Like you can design your life the way you want, really, and then
Yeah.
their excuses come up.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
it's like really, you have one life, and when you're 90 years old, do you want to look back and say, I think I did everything that I really had wanted to do,
Yeah.
or are you going to regret it? So
I love that. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
and don't wait for a major health scare or the loss of a loved one to realize how important what your priorities are and how
Yeah.
important it is to live them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just, if I could just share one thing,
Please.
just on that note, is that there's a difference between transition and change, right? So
Yeah.
transitions come in any time of our life. They could be minor ones, it could be like, I want to change the color of my hair, or, I've got a new role in my job or whatever. Or they could be major ones like,
Yeah.
divorce, layoffs, health scares, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And those, so there's a difference between just changing the situation, where sometimes we think if we change the job, we move the, whatever, it's going to fix everything.
Yeah.
But
Nope.
it's a Band-Aid fix, right? So
Yes.
transition is really looking deep into, this is an opportunity, to really delve
Yeah.
deep into, why is this happening? Questioning
To
it.
grow.
Why
Yeah.
did this thing happen? Rather than saying, oh my God, it's a crisis.
Yeah. Why
Rather,
me?
it's actually an
Yeah.
opportunity. Yeah. So just
Yeah. I
wanted
love
to
that.
put the difference between transition and change. That's very
I love
important.
that. Yeah. Now, before we get to your products and services and resources, is there anything else you want to share about? I mean, I know there's a lot, but the reinvention pyramid or transitions, anything else you want to make sure our audience members know about?
Yeah, I think I would say that the main thing is that, again, live your life by your, ikigai, by your reason for being.
Mm-hmm.
Understand it and live it, and because it's so important to know yourself first.
Yeah.
There's a quote by Carl Jung. He says, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside wakes."
Yeah. Oh,
Right. So
yeah.
when you look inside, it's really important, and to figure out who you really are. So I would also say that it's easy to say that, but it's also some harder to do,
Yeah.
because we all have fears, and we also,
Mm-hmm.
many of us lack the confidence, right? So
Yeah.
if we having a guide, or having somebody who's been done it, help, who's been through that, is always good. Joining communities,
Yeah.
being a part of a community and sharing what you're feeling, it's really important. You don't need to go through this yourself if you're going
Yeah.
through anything, a transition, or difficulty in your life. But I would say the main thing is really living your life by your values and your ikigai and your reason for being. I think that's the main. And
I
and
love
there's
it.
a lot more I can talk about. Like, I can talk about blocks and how to overcome them and all that. But maybe that's too much for today. But yeah, that would be the main thing.
Nice. Well, and
Yes.
that reminds me of, so like we need to know this because it gives us guidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, what popped in my head was, and I'm gonna butcher it, but it was in Alice in Wonderland where she asks I don't know what it was, the big insect that's smoking a hookah or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or hookah, she's asking him for directions. He's like, "Where do you want to go?" She says, "I don't know." He says, "Then it doesn't matter which
Mm-hmm.
direction you go in."
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so we need
Exactly.
that map, that understanding in order to help
Yeah.
live more
Yeah. And
fulfilling lives.
yeah, we do need a map, but we also need a vision, right? I think, right? And
Yeah.
I think I alluded to it earlier. We often have outer mentors, people that we
Mm-hmm.
look up to, and we for guidance. And I would say that the greatest mentor is ourselves, and that's our inner mentor.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's like I said earlier, when you're looking forward, you know, who is it that you see? Like if you were to have a conversation with yourself in 20, 30 years, what would she say to you? Or what would he say to you?
Yeah.
What were the
Yeah.
main struggles, and is that person that you're talking to, did that person live your ikigai, you know?
Yeah.
And if not, how
Yeah.
can you adjust it? So, um, of course, the other thing is practical things may get in the way when people say, well, I can't, if I want to change my job, I can't leave right away because I need to pay the bills, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But those things it's possible to do, even like you're saying, you don't have to leave it all. If you're
Yeah.
really interested in something, you can, research it on the side. You can start understanding more about it. You can volunteer.
Yeah.
There's so many other different options about things that you can do and that you really love, without having to like leave everything all at once.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Well, and it's amazing the power of, and I say simple, a simple shift in perspective. It's not
Mm-hmm.
simple, but just a simple shift in perspective can have over your whole reality. So
Mm-hmm.
even at the basis of that could change a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Like what type
Yeah.
of perspective? Like what are you like? What would
Like all of a
exactly?
sudden, instead of seeing someone in as uh, who's there daily just to annoy you, instead of seeing them for like the human parts that they are, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
realizing it's a learning opportunity for you, or it
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
change. It just a shift in perspective can totally change
Oh,
dynamics in our
totally.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the
Yeah,
main blocks that we face are interpretations of things. Like we
exactly.
interpret, I had an example of it. I had a client who was in a meeting. She had this weekly meeting with somebody, and it was always a very stressful meeting because
Mm-hmm.
she thought that the other person, the woman, didn't like her or didn't
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So it was her interpretation of that. And
Yeah.
I said to her, why don't you just share with her how you're feeling about how these meetings are giving you a little bit of anxiety, or that you think that this is, and you'd really love to
Wow.
open up and talk freely. And she did. And she goes, oh my God, Kavita, you don't understand how it has changed the dynamics and the energy. And we're like working together so well. It's just the interpretation that the other person doesn't like me,
Yep.
right?
Isn't that
Or,
fascinating?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yes. So,
Yeah. Oh.
yeah. And
Now, I
yeah,
know people are going to want to learn more about the blocks and how to take this further. So, can you share a little bit about your products, resources, services, whatever you'd like the audience to know about and how to get a hold of you?
yes. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, the best way is my business is called It's My Time Now Coaching.
Mm.
And you can find, you can just go to my website, it's mytimenowcoaching.com. And so my main services are I offer one-on-one coaching where I take my clients through the pyramid of reinvention we just talked about. It's a 3-month coaching program, and it's very comprehensive, a lot of tools, exercises, but it's also guided by what my clients really are dealing with and what they like to have accomplished. And I also have a comprehensive online course by the same name. It's called It's My Time Now. And it's
Mm-hmm.
for people, some people like to learn independently, and it's a really great way of doing that. So it's online, as I said, it follows a pyramid of reinvention, and it has all the tools, videos, and exercises to follow. In it, you can learn how to find your ikigai, for example, as well. And I do have group coaching also periodically, depending on the needs of my audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the coaching. And then I also have my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
which is called the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. And we're at like 143 episodes, I think.
Nice.
And you can find that also on my website. But it is really, I talk to guests about their reinvention stories, much like we talked about today, my own and
Mm-hmm.
others. So as inspiration for others who are thinking about making a change or what do they do next, but feeling a little stuck. So it really is inspiration for them as well. So so we've got the coaching and the course and the podcast. And I'm very happy to offer a complimentary coaching consultation with me, as well as I have a wonderful little quiz. It's called a Career and Life Fulfillment Quiz. Everybody loves quizzes.
Yes,
so,
I do.
Yes, it takes less than a minute. It's there's about 10 questions, and in it you get a score and how fulfilled you are really in life and in your career right now. And after that, you'll get really insightful information on what may be the source of that, what may be causing you to be stuck. And then obviously, if anybody wants to discuss it more personally, then I can offer it's called Breakthrough Conversations, which really it's about what are you going through? How can you overcome that? And, how do you actually go about doing it? So that's it. So basically, you can reach me at Kavita, Kavita, at itsmytimenowcoaching.com as well. So, yes.
Nice. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Your final piece of advice for our audience members.
Okay. Well, I think I've alluded to this before, but I really believe the biggest message I'd like to impart is that it's so important to know and live by your why or your reason for being in any stage of your life. Because once you know that, you can use it as a compass to guide you moving forward. We all go through transitions in life, and some can be minor, some can be big, but once you understand what it is that you really want and who you really are, then they don't seem as daunting, and you look at life as an opportunity rather than a problem. And it's all about bringing that positive energy into your life, and how can you bring it into today, not next week or after I get a job or after. So I would say the biggest message is really, living by your why and understanding your reason for being.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today, Kavita.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Essential Skills for Humaning podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights to enhance your journey as a human being. Remember, practice makes progress. Keep honing those essential skills, and until next time, keep being the best version of yourself. For more resources, visit eanestraining.com.